Chairman.
Thank you both for being here. Just to follow up on your comments about our allies and what they're doing, because we know that our messages are going to be much more effective when they're delivered with our allies. I noticed that the European Parliament sent its first official parliamentary delegation to Taiwan last month, and it adopted a non-binding resolution to deepen ties with Taiwan. So can you discuss to what extent the administration is engaging with our European allies around issues with and working to align our policy toward Taiwan?
Senator, thank you very much for the question. Yes, I would say that if I were to summarize in one line our approach to the Indo-Pacific, it would be allies, partners, and friends. And our efforts are focused not just on our partners within the region, but without as well those outside of the region who also see the Indo-Pacific as being vital to their future. And the EU is very important in that regard. Just 3 weeks ago, I held 2 days of consultations with my EU counterpart on these very issues, both focused on our engagement across the Indo-Pacific and specifically vis-a-vis China, and that included a discussion of Taiwan. Just last week, as I mentioned, the EU Secretary General of the EU External Action Service was in Washington for consultations with Deputy Secretary Sherman, and I think, as you may have seen from the public readout, there was a very robust discussion of all of these issues, and the word that I would use to describe our consultations is convergence. If you look at what the EU has done, what our friends in Japan have done, what ASEAN itself has done, we've all talked about the principles that ought to define behavior in the Indo-Pacific and the principles that are most important for supporting peace and stability, and we all share those principles. And our focus now, whether it's with the EU or many other allies and partners across the region, is what is the concrete action that we can take together. That was certainly the nature of our discussion with the EU, and it is with the rest of our partners as well.
And I assume these discussions would be even more effective if we had ambassadors to the EU and to China to engage in these conversations. Can you speak to the impact that it's having, not having our diplomats in those critical positions?
Yes, ma'am. I'm honored, of course, to be in this chair, and I'm grateful to the members of this committee and in the largest Senate for the support regarding my confirmation. But we are truly hamstrung in the region when we do not have our fully confirmed, capable ambassadors on the ground. No doubt in every capital we have very capable representatives, whether they are ambassadors or our talented chargé d'affaires. But there's simply no substitute for a fully confirmed U.S. ambassador in terms of their capabilities, the legitimacy they have within that country, and their ability to fully operate and to have influence. And so, yes, ma'am, respectfully, as I mentioned in my opening statement, we would be grateful for the Senate taking quick action to confirm as many of our ambassadors as possible. I do believe it represents a real vulnerability for us in the field, including in the East Asia Pacific region for which I'm responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Risch. I think it's particularly concerning that these positions are being held up by members of this committee who ought to understand better than most people in the Senate just why it's so important to have our diplomats in position when we're trying to engage in our foreign policy. And I would add, by the way, that it also is hamstringing Americans' interests in China, for example, where we have a number of Americans who are being held hostage by the government of China, and we have no one in the position of ambassador to advocate on behalf of those people. So, again, I think we should note that this is an area that is affecting our national security because our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and it's not all of them, I know Senator Risch has been very active in trying to move these nominations, but we've got a couple of people who are holding things up in a way that's having a real impact on our ability to conduct American foreign policy. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Shaheen. I agree with you, and this is becoming increasingly a critical issue. It would be great if we had an ambassador in China right now, both on Taiwan as we try to get China to join us against the challenges of Iran and others. So